You know how it is you want to get smart fast, especially when things are moving at, well, warp speed.
Yeah, totally. Information overload is real.
You want the key info without getting totally buried. So today, we're diving straight into a particularly wild corner that's been getting a lot of buzz.
Exactly. We're taking a deep dive into the roller coaster that is meme coin trading.
Right.
And this whole conversation actually started because you, our listener, shared a YouTube video with us from a creator called Champ.
Okay, let's unpack this Champ video then.
Yeah.
It's framed as kind of a beginner's roadmap to potentially seeing some pretty explosive gains trading these meme coins.
Yeah, those digital tokens born from internet jokes, think Dogecoin? Maybe, but often way more unpredictable.
And right off the bat, it's so important to understand, and the video makes this clear too.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a market defined by absolutely
Exactly. So,
it.
a healthy dose of caution is definitely needed here.
Couldn't agree more. Our goal here isn't to tell anyone to, jump in blindly.
No, definitely not.
Instead, we're going to dissect this video, pull out the crucial insights, the strategies he's talking about, and really try to get a handle on how this high-stakes game actually works.
Think of us as trying to, decode this digital frontier for you.
So let's start with the big picture, as Champ lays it out. What's the current feel of the meme coin market, according to him?
Well, his take is that things are insane. The craziest he's seen since that big crypto boom back in 2017.
Wow, okay. That's a pretty bold statement for someone who seems experienced.
It is. And he gives some truly unbelievable examples. Like, picture this.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. president, hypothetically, appoints Elon Musk to head up a new government agency called Doge.
Seriously?
I mean, the sheer absurdity of that scenario is kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah, it really throws into sharp relief how much internet culture can just bleed into these markets, even hypothetical, total ridiculous stuff.
And seemingly impact what people are willing to pay for these assets.
It's fascinating how these online moments, even just imagined ones, suddenly get tangled up with financial speculation.
It really highlights the unique dynamics at play here, completely different from traditional markets.
Then there's the story of Peanut. It's a token named after a dead squirrel.
Right. Yeah.
Apparently shot up to $1 billion market cap in less than 10 days.
Under 10 days.
You honestly can't make this stuff up. It just shows the raw power of a captivating story, even a totally bizarre one in this space.
The speed and scale. It's remarkable how perceived value can just appear seemingly out of thin air, driven purely by online buzz.
$1 billion for a token linked to a viral news item about a squirrel.
Yeah, it really challenges traditional financial thinking, doesn't it?
And it's not just these crazy hypotheticals or, outlandish examples. The video shares a story from inside Champ's own community, a guy named Caden.
Oh yeah, the Caden story.
Supposedly turned less than 20 grand into almost $80,000 in under a month.
And apparently had a single day gain of $60,000.
It almost sounds, too good to be true.
And it's so important to remember these are anecdotes. Success stories, yes, but as Champ himself cautions, they're definitely not the norm.
Right, he does say that.
The risk of big losses is very real. And, statistically, much more likely for most people trying this.
Absolutely. But he does end that part on a pretty optimistic note, suggesting that people learning about this now have the potential to change their lives.
Yeah, which is, a high-stakes claim in itself.
Definitely. So beneath all this apparent chaos, what's the fundamental engine driving this market, according to the video?
Okay, so the video puts forward this core idea.
Mm-hmm.
The meme coin market functions as an attention economy. That's the key concept.
It's an attention economy.
Yeah. Forget your traditional financial analysis, PE ratios, earnings, revenue, real-world utility, all that stuff.
Doesn't apply here.
Not really.
Yeah.
Here, the price of a token is almost entirely determined by how much attention it's getting.
Okay, so it's all about how many eyeballs are on it, how much chatter there is online.
Exactly. If people find it funny or relatable or just interesting.
And ultimately, if they decide to buy in.
That's it. These are often tokens that literally don't do anything. They have no inherent practical use.
Wow.
Their value, if you can call it that, comes purely from collective belief and enthusiasm, their ability to capture and hold public attention.
As the video says, they are literally tokens that do nothing, competing for attention.
Precisely. It's a competition for mindshare.
That's a pretty radical departure from well, how most people think about investing. So, given this focus on attention, what kind of trading strategies does the video talk about?
According to the video, there are generally two main approaches. First, short term, what he calls fast in and out.
Huh.
The goal here is just to make small profits quickly, jump on short bursts of attention.
So, you see a token starting to get some traction online, maybe on Twitter or somewhere. Right, you buy it, ride that initial little wave of interest, and then sell before the attention moves on.
That's the idea, yeah. Get out before it fizzles.
Yeah.
The second approach is more of a long-term, speculative hold.
Okay, so holding on longer.
Yeah, buying a token and holding it because you believe its popularity and therefore its price will keep going up over a longer period.
That sounds like it requires more conviction in the meme itself.
Definitely. More conviction in the staying power of the meme, the narrative.
Makes sense. The video then gives a specific example of a short-term trade, a token called MAX. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, the Max example really illustrates that quick in-and-out strategy. The trigger was a tweet from CZ, the founder of Binance.
Right.
He tweeted something featuring a mascot named Max. Almost instantly, within Champ's Discord community, people started anticipating.
That someone would launch a meme coin based on it.
Exactly. It's like the internet sees a spark and boom, speculation ignites.
So they used a trading tool, Photon, it says, to find and buy the MAX token really soon after it launched on a platform called Pump.Fun.
Yes, Pump.Fun comes up a lot. It's presented as a key platform for the initial launch of many of these coins. We'll circle back to that.
Okay.
But in this Max trade, Champ reports making a quick 2x profit. Double his money.
Doubled his money. How quick was this?
By selling near what turned out to be the peak, all within just minutes of buying.
Minutes. A 100% return in minutes. That sounds incredibly risky, but it shows just how fast this market moves.
Insanely fast.
But why the quick exit then? Why not hold on to Max and see if it became the next big thing, like Peanut?
Well, the decision to sell quickly was based on their assessment that the attention around CZ's tweet was likely temporary. Fleeting.
Just a quick spike.
Yeah, they didn't see it developing into a lasting trend or meme. The feeling was, it was a moment.
And looking at the chart in the video, that seems right. The price dropped off pretty sharply after that initial pump.
It did, yeah. So that assessment seems to have been correct. It highlights the need to try and distinguish.
Between something that's just a flash in the pan and something that might actually have legs. More enduring appeal.
Exactly. So the video then moves on to examples of longer-term holds, like MOG and, again, Peanut. Let's start with MOG.
Okay, MOG. What's the story there?
So MOG, which is apparently depicted as a cat wearing pit vipers,
Right.
is presented as a meme coin that was identified early on and held for over a year, eventually reaching $1 billion market cap.
Over a year. That's ancient in meme coin time. So why hold that one long term? What were the meme coin fundamentals there?
Yeah, right, meme coin fundamentals. Well, in the case of MOG, it was things like the growing popularity of the term mogged online.
Okay. Seeing the slang take off.
Yeah, the feeling that the meme itself had potential to spread much further. And they even looked at positive trends in Google searches for mogged.
Interesting. So tracking the actual cultural penetration of the term?
Exactly. Suggesting a growing and, importantly, sustained level of interest, not just a quick burst.
So it's about tracking these broader internet culture trends, trying to predict what might go viral and actually stay viral for a while.
Sort of, yeah. Trying to gauge the meme's life cycle.
Then there's Peanut again. What made that a longer-term hold looking back?
The Peanut example really highlights the impact of unexpected, sometimes bizarre, real-world events. The initial attention came from that news story.
The squirrel killed by the U.S. government. Yeah.
That bizarre origin story itself generated a lot of initial buzz,
Oh.
but the real catalyst for its continued explosive growth.
Let me guess. Elon Musk.
You got it. Elon Musk, who's obviously a huge figure in the meme coin world, started talking about Peanut on Twitter.
And that just poured fuel on the fire.
Absolutely. A prominent personality with millions of followers amplifying the meme. That was major fuel for its growth.
The video also mentions that being part of the right Discord and Telegram groups could have given people early signals about this growing attention. It sounds a bit like insider info.
Less like secret information, maybe. And more about being tapped into the right conversations. Being in those online communities where trends are spotted and discussed early.
Okay.
These groups can act as like an early warning system, an indicator of what narratives are gaining traction, which tokens are getting hot. It's about the collective intelligence, the shared info within those online spaces.
Right, being plugged into the hive mind almost.
Okay, so how does someone actually find these new meme coins early before they really take off? The video touches on some mechanics.
Yeah, it introduces Pump.Fun, describes it as the very first place many new meme coins appear.
The launchpad.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah.
a platform where literally anyone can launch a token for free. Just need a name, upload an image.
Anyone. That
Yeah.
that sounds chaotic. Like it could lead to a lot of, well, junk.
Oh, absolutely. It's characterized as a very Wild West environment. Every token launched there uses something called a bonding curve.
A bonding curve. What's
Wow.
that? Essentially, the price of the token automatically goes up as more people buy it. So the earlier you get in, theoretically, the lower the price you pay per token.
Ah, okay. So it incentivizes being early, like a limited edition item where demand drives the price up instantly.
Kind of like that, yeah. And then there's this idea of migrating to Radium that's mentioned as a key step.
Migrating to Radium, what does that signify?
It's described as a sort of graduation. It means a token has gained enough traction, enough trading volume on Pump.Fun.
To move up to the next level.
Exactly. To then be listed and traded more widely on the main decentralized exchanges, specifically within the Solana ecosystem in this context. Radium being a big one.
So it goes from being contained on Pump.Fun, accessible mainly through specialized tools.
To being available to a much broader range of traders, like a band starting in tiny clubs and then getting big enough to play arenas.
Gotcha. The video also highlights that tool again, Photon,
Hmm.
and specifically its meme scope feature, as a way to track these super early tokens.
Yeah, Photon's meme scope apparently lets users see newly launched tokens on Pump.Fun, spot the ones gaining momentum that might be about to graduate or migrate to Radium.
And also track ones that have already made that move.
Right. It's presented as a way to get a real-time overview of the earliest potential plays.
But given this Wild West nature of Pump.Fun, anyone launching anything, the risk must be astronomical, right?
The video doesn't sugarcoat this at all. It states that a staggering 99% of tokens that launch on Pump.Fun reportedly go straight to zero.
99%? Wow.
Yeah, that's a stark reminder just how speculative and incredibly risky this very, very early stage trading is.
So for people willing to brave that, to venture onto Pump.Fun, are there any strategies mentioned to at least try and reduce that insane level of risk?
Well, the video suggests using filters within Photon's meme scope to try and sift through the noise, the sheer volume of launches.
Okay, filters like what?
Things like looking for tokens with a pump progress of at least 15%.
Meaning it's already moved up the bonding curve a bit?
Right, suggesting some initial buying interest, some momentum, not completely dead on arrival, also having at least 15 different holders.
Okay, so not just one or two people buying everything.
Exactly. Shows a small but maybe growing community. Then, a developer holding percentage lower than 10%.
To avoid the creator just dumping all their tokens.
That's the idea, reduce the risk of a rug pull by the dev.
Hmm.
And finally, zero snipers.
Snipers. What are those in this context?
Individuals or bots, really, who
Ugh.
try to buy up huge amounts of a new token the instant it launches, potentially to manipulate the price later.
Okay, so filtering those out aims for a more level playing field, initially at least.
Yeah, trying to avoid tokens that are already heavily controlled by one or two entities right at the start.
Those all sound like, well, sensible precautions if you're going to play in that kind of unpredictable sandbox.
Definitely. But the video also mentions an alternative approach, kind of the creator's preferred way,
Which is?
waiting for a token to actually graduate and then monitoring social media trends closely.
So instead of jumping into brand new Pump.Fun launches.
Right. The idea is to watch Photon, watch Discord, Telegram, Twitter. Look for those emerging narratives.
And then wait to see which tokens actually gain real traction and successfully move on to Radium, the bigger exchanges.
Exactly. This brings us back to that Max token example, doesn't it?
Right. They saw the buzz from CZ's tweet,
Used a tool, the Rickbot was mentioned, to see if any Max tokens had launched.
but then they bought after it had already migrated to Radium.
Precisely. The video points out that very often, multiple different tokens will launch based on a single meme or trend. Could be dozens.
Okay, so lots of copycats.
Yeah. So by waiting a bit, you let the market kind of filter itself. You see which ones actually gain momentum, build a real community, and successfully graduate.
Giving you a better chance maybe of picking one with some actual staying power rather than just the first one out the gate?
That seems to be the rationale. Observing the initial frenzy, then betting on the one that seems to be attracting the most genuine interest.
And again, the importance of being active in those online communities' Discord, Telegram is really hammered home for getting a feel for sentiment identifying promising narratives early.
Yeah, it sounds like being part of that online conversation is almost essential.
In this attention-driven market, being where the attention is forming, where it's being discussed.
It gives you a significant informational edge. You understand the nuances, the developing story. You can better assess its potential longevity.
Okay. Now, the video does take a bit of a more serious, maybe sobering turn towards the end, addressing the time frame for all this and the risks.
Yes, Champ stresses that this current bull run in meme coins, this intense period,
Mhm.
it isn't expected to last forever.
Based on past crypto cycles.
Exactly. Based on his experience, he suggests there might only be another, say, 6 months to a year left of this kind of environment.
That's a pretty stark warning not to get complacent. It's not some permanent get-rich-quick machine.
Precisely. The video cautions strongly against complacency, against the idea of easy money, and reminds viewers that, historically in crypto,
A lot of people lose money.
yeah, many people end up losing significantly by holding on too long right through the market crashes.
Writing it all the way down.
Right. So the advice is basically, take this opportunity seriously while it lasts, but be very aware of the cyclical nature, the potential downturns.
And there's a mention, I think, of an offer to join their private Discord community for more learning, insights, tools.
Yeah, the Champs Only community. It seems positioned for further learning, real-time insights, access to tools, beginner tutorials.
Yeah.
Makes sense given how complex and fast this all is.
It's a common model in these online trading spaces, right? Shared knowledge, up-to-the-minute info.
Definitely. A space to navigate the chaos together, potentially.
Okay, so to kind of wrap this up, bring it all together.
Yeah.
What are the key things we should take away from this deep dive into the world of meme coin trading, as described in this Champ video?
Well, I think the absolute central idea is that the meme coin market is fundamentally driven by attention. Pure and simple,
It's all about the hype, the narrative.
pretty much. And to potentially find success or even just navigate it, you need this combination of things. Being able to gather info super quickly.
Keeping up with the speed of the internet.
Yeah, having a really good pulse on online trends, internet culture, using specialized tools like Photon or bots to track these very early tokens.
Tools are crucial, sounds like.
Seems so. And perhaps most importantly, constantly being aware of and actively managing the extremely high levels of risk involved.
It's a world where, yeah, a token based on a dead squirrel can hit $1 billion.
Right.
Where fortunes can apparently be made in minutes off a single tweet.
Mhm.
But also where, what was it, 99% of these things go to zero.
Exactly. The vast majority end up worthless. It's a very, very high stakes game. Very little room for error.
So while the video highlights that potential for huge gains, it also paints a clear picture of a market that is just incredibly speculative.
Highly speculative, yeah, and very time sensitive, according to the creator. You really need to approach this with eyes wide open about the significant risks and the unique, almost bizarre dynamics at play.
Okay, so here's something to maybe chew on as you go about your day, our listener. Given just how powerfully internet culture and these viral moments can drive the value of digital assets like meme coins, how might broader shifts in our culture, unexpected online trends, continue to shape the future of these kinds of digital assets and maybe the wider crypto space, even after this current cycle ends, whenever that is?
That's a great question. What completely unforeseen memes or internet phenomena might capture the collective imagination next
Yeah, what's the next dead squirrel or cat with pit vipers waiting to happen?
and potentially fuel the next wave of these attention-driven tokens?
It's definitely a wild and constantly evolving landscape out there. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.